Hey, all right, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Money Talks. I'm your host, Bill Barhydt, founder and CEO at Abra. Let's get right to it. So I want to talk about Web3, right? Before we get into Web3, I gotta mention, I'm already seeing it in the live chat. Please don't put your Abra ID in the live chat. There's no giveaways this week, and you're spamming the chat stream. So just to make it easier for everyone, let's keep the chat stream quiet. All right. So I want to talk about Web3 for a few minutes. Obviously, we're going to get into what's happening in the broader markets. Big sell-off this morning here in U.S. time, and a little bit of a squeeze on the big pullback. But we'll get into that in a moment. A lot of online raging debate about Web3 right now. So you've probably seen it a lot in the news lately. Maybe you saw Jack Dorsey, former CEO of Twitter, current CEO of Square, has been one of the more vocal critics of Web3, saying that it's nothing more than a commercialized venture hiding under a cloak of decentralization. We'll get into whether Jack's right or Jack's wrong, or maybe it's more nuanced than that. Let me give you my take on Web3. And start with some of the basics. So I look at this space as kind of a massive movement towards decentralization. I think we've basically reached peak centralization decades ago, and now with the advent of computing and the personal computer and the internet and smartphone and now crypto, we've been in this kind of steady march towards decentralization that has been kind of there, but not so easy to see. But now with the advent of crypto is very, very easy to see, right? So my perspective is that, the unwinding of the centralization, was really at the beginning of the end of this current debt cycle. And it started in 1971. And that's, of course, when we went off the gold standard. Before World War II, global currencies were based on a commodity standard, right? The global financial currency operated on what is known as the gold standard, of course. And after World War II, up to 1971, the Bretton Woods system was in place, and to the victor goes the spoils. And the United States basically determined the system that we've had since the end of World War II up through 1971, when we came off the gold standard. Right. However, within Bretton Woods system, all national currencies within that network were valued in relation to the US dollar, which became the dominant reserve currency. The dollar, in turn, was convertible to gold at the fixed price of $35 an ounce, and the global financial system continued to operate on a gold standard, albeit more indirectly. So the move away from the gold standard led to a volatile financial market and inflated prices for assets. So here's what prices looked like in 1971, 50 years later, with cumulative inflation, right? The cost of living increased and the cost for goods and services increased. Once we left the gold standard, the government could print as much money as it wanted without end, without limitation, effectively lowering its value, right? It's like you find out you have a collectible, right? And there's only one of those collectibles, so it's incredibly valuable. But if you find out tomorrow that there's 10 of those collectibles, well, the collectible you used to have should be worth less in value. That's what we're doing with the money supply. We're making it less valuable by simply making more of them. So you fast forward today, and this is still a problem. We've created more money in the last 10 years than has ever existed in the history of humankind. It's crazy, okay? This is what's going on right now. But technology has created opportunity to make a significant difference and change this narrative. When the Bitcoin white paper was released 11 years ago, no one thought about it as a solution to the late stage debt crisis that's continually happened over many, many generations. And we're in that late stage now, okay? I gave the first public presentation on crypto Bitcoin on the TED Talk stage about 10 years ago. And my theory then, right, was that maybe the time was right for a new global reserve currency. Think about that for a second. We now have a technology solution to get ourselves out of this continual late stage debt crisis model that has plagued us for generation after generation. So 10 years later, it's now clear that Bitcoin, with no off switch, is now going after gold, which was the commodity that money was based upon in the first place, and which is why the narrative around crypto and Bitcoin was initially changed to, do we have a digital gold that can replace centralized governments? It's basically saying the same thing. Money managers seem to think so, right? So you can see here, myriad money managers adopting Bitcoin in some way for their constituents. Some governments, countries, central banks seem to think so. El Salvador has made Bitcoin legal tender. They're actually buying it into their treasury. The president is tweeting about it. Central banks are talking about changing the rules to buy Bitcoin. Rumors that Turkey's about to announce that they're making Bitcoin legal tender. Okay, so great. We have a financial system that's on the path to decentralization, or certainly money, I would say, that's on the path to decentralization. But where is this all going? What is this Web3 thing? How does DeFi and NFTs, or whatever comes next, really relate to this narrative of decentralized money? So again, this massive movement towards decentralization started with the platform of the computing platform, moved from there to the internet itself, then on to money. And now I think Web 3.0 to me means, let's finally, there's this moniker, let's decentralize all the things. And by all the things, we're talking about potentially privatizing digital currencies in the form of stable coins, which are already incredibly popular in the crypto sphere, and I think will make their way out into traditional banking over the next 5 years, starting this year. I think this is going to be one of the themes of this year, is going to be the adoption of stable coins outside of crypto wallets and exchanges. DeFi, right? Decentralized finance for generating yield, for enabling lending beyond the centralized kind of controlled borders that banks traditionally operate within. Collectibles and gaming have a huge role to play, in my opinion. Look at what's happening in the play-to-earn gaming space. Collateralized bonds, DAOs and securities. This is also going to be the year of the DAO. Mark my words. Okay, the level of interest in the technology community for setting up entities that have no off switch, that are outside of the control of any one government, is incredible. There's a reason for this. It has to do with the same reasons why we don't currently trust the government to print our money safely and responsibly versus an underlying commodity. So if you combine this idea of digital gold with decentralized finance, it's a perfect way to replace banking on a global scale. As I said, play-to-earn gaming is proving the plausibility of a decentralized web. It's an ideal test, actually, to show billions of people that systems can be decentralized without being dependent on the government. As I said, collectibles, centralized bonds, NFTs are all a branch of decentralized finance and represent a move to global decentralization. This is manifesting itself now in very tangible ways that we can analyze. You see here, we actually created a pretty cool chart that shows you've got DeFi, tokens, privacy coins, all basically interacting and playing a different part in making this decentralization real, right? DeFi represents an incredible opportunity to take yield generation, lending, insurance, other aspects of the banking system, and move them into the internet open source realm in a way that no one can control. It's the ultimate freedom, right? So in the same way that Bitcoin represents freedom and lack of control and lack of central authority in the money supply and responsible money, I believe that over the years, in the coming years, DeFi represents the same thing for banking. Many, many projects will die in the DeFi space, no doubt about it. And the few that survive will make the next generation banking even stronger. And there's a point here as it relates to where we are as a society, which I want to come back to. It's very powerful, right? You can see, right? It's crystal clear. Institutions, somebody was asking me, I was on Crypto Banter this morning, and they said, when do I think institutions are going to start adopting DeFi for yield? They already are. They're doing it through funds. They're testing it directly, right? DeFi is managing over $200 billion in assets. The concept didn't exist 5 years ago. This is the future of banking, right? If you don't believe that, just look at the basic numbers. Bitcoin's market value was 0 10 years ago. Ethereum didn't exist 10 years ago. 5 years ago, or four and a half years ago, Bitcoin would have been bigger than most of the top 10 banks, and Ethereum would have been in the top 10 of all bank market caps. Today, Bitcoin is bigger than all of them, and Ethereum is on its way to taking the number 2 spot versus JP Morgan Chase, which is now number 2 behind Bitcoin. Okay, so if you think that this is just a fad, you're crazy. NFTs. Now you may say to yourself, well, what does NFTs have to do with banking? Well, NFTs to me, right, are actually a way to represent rights digitally. What is my right to an art object, a music file, something? The same technology that enables somebody to sell an art object for tens of millions of dollars, or participate in a Bored Ape auction, is actually going to be used in financial markets, whether it's for deeds or trusts or bonds. These can all basically be created, instantiated, and traded as forms of NFTs. And I believe that's going to happen. Okay, so to me, we're going to have a few underlying kind of web protocols, web-based protocols, right? Today on the internet, you all know HTTP. It's what you type in to go somewhere. There's a bunch of other protocols that you use when you send an email, when you stream a music file or stream a video. We're also going to have a series of underlying protocols to enable this Web3. Right? Ethereum seems to be the front runner. Well, clearly is the front runner. It's getting the network effects. Solana is coming on strong. Other protocols, I think, will compete. But you see here that there's a developer ecosystem. And in my world, you follow the developers, because what that tells you is, that tells you where the money is going to go next. Right? And the developers are working on Ethereum, Solana, of course now Luna. And if you look at this entire what we call user aggregation layer, application layer on Ethereum that didn't exist 3 years ago, it's incredible. In the 90s and 2000s, a few companies controlled everything, right? Microsoft was the big kahuna. Now you have open source developers forking these protocols over the weekend to compete with the market leader on Monday. That's fantastic, because we know that people's incentives and motivations are becoming aligned over time. I work on what's exciting to me. I work on what the market thinks, what I think the market's going to want. If the two don't align, I'll probably move on to the next project. Projects like Ethereum and Solana are becoming the unsung heroes that will get us out of this debt cycle, out of this new money printing, and possibly avoid the traditional outcome of being in these long-term debt cycles, which has traditionally been war. If you have a system that can keep the money from being inflated to zero, combined with a banking solution that the government doesn't own, I think we have an answer. Now, the good news is, if you're excited about the space, if you're investing in this space, if you're using apps like Abra to hold cryptocurrencies, right? We're so early. Look at where we are in the technology adoption curve, right? We're barely into it. Okay, so when you see people saying, "Oh, I missed the boat's still tethered to the dock. People are still getting on the boat. look, I can't say for sure that all of this is what's going to happen, but I have watched exponential growth many times throughout my career. And I believe that the exponential growth here is going to continue more or less unabated. I talk about the log curve. I talk about network effects on Money Talks every week, right? This is where we are on that kind of log adoption curve that I continually talk about. So where does Abra fit in all of this? Well, we're trying to be, and we aim to be that crypto bank that really is the world's first bank for the Web3 ecosystem. Okay. Of course, we have Abra Trade, 140 cryptocurrencies and growing, zero fee trading, any-to-any trading crypto pairs, unlimited deposits. You can link to Abra Earn to earn high yield. We're going to be rolling out advanced order types very soon. Super exciting what's coming with Abra Trade, Abra Earn, the product that most of you love. You can earn yield of up to 8% plus up to another 5% in C perks on top. So that means that you can earn up to 13% on your dollars, or 8 or 8.5% on your Bitcoin and Ethereum. I believe we're the only company in the ecosystem that has no limits on paying yield on deposit sizes. We also have no limits on withdrawals. Many of our competitors are forcing you to do only one withdrawal per month or something and then pay crazy fees on top. Okay. If you want to basically do large orders, meaning you have money in the bank and you want to get it into Abra, a few $1 million, we'll actually do an over-the-counter trade to keep the cost down, keep the spread down. And now we have institutional business accounts to be able to support trusts and other wealth management solutions, as well as the normal everyday app for our retail users like yourselves. Back in November, we launched C Perks, and I have been absolutely astounded at the adoption rates. Hundreds of thousands of you are now holding C Perks, right? I can't imagine another token launch that's gotten into so many consumers' hands so quickly as you all have adopted C Perks. You're earning cash back on every trade, bonus yield on Abra Earn. Those of you borrowing through Aberbaro are actually getting negative loan interest, which means you're getting money back. We're paying you in C Perks to effectively borrow. Ignition rewards for those of you who are opening up and funding new accounts. Referral programs, right? As a test, I put my own referral link out there, and I was astounded how many of you actually joined Abra via the referral link, meaning you were already following me even though you weren't using Abra. And thanks to those of you who decided to try it out and join. I appreciate it. And of course, C Perks as a traditional rewards token, or next generation rewards token, is being listed on other exchanges. And you'll see more of that over time, I believe. And then of course we have Aberbaro, which is our newest product. I'm excited to say we've had over $1 billion in loans through our system with 0 defaults. We have an amazing 0% interest rate option, right? That I believe no one else in the space has. No penalties for early repayments. Take the 10% option, just keep rolling over the loan. Bitcoin and Ethereum supported for collateral, and of course, live in 50 countries, and I believe we're now live in 42 US states and growing. We added Idaho this week, so welcome to our friends from Idaho and to Aberbaro. Okay, so back to the original point about, Jack Dorsey talking about, is this really a commercialized venture hiding under a cloak of decentralization? No, I don't think so. I don't think this is a fight of venture capitalists versus open source developers, right? I don't think this is a fight of the SEC versus DAOs or DeFi developers. I believe this is an answer to the decades-long cycle of inflation, debt crises, political conflict, and now the late-stage debt cycle that we find ourselves in. We'll see. That's my theory. Okay, that's your quick primer on Web3. If you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll get back to them. Let's get into the market news. Lots going on. Obviously, a lot of you in the chat want to talk about the pullback. Thanks. I'm seeing some really nice comments on the Web3 commentary. I appreciate that. In the meantime, here's a quick overview. All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that commentary on Web3. Let us know if you enjoy that. You know, we spend a lot of time thinking through the best way to formulate our and explain our own opinions on this. And if you want to hear more of that, let us know which topics are interesting to you, and we'll certainly focus on them going forward. So in the news, a couple of things. We'll get to the markets pricing in a moment. Let's see. So what do we have? Russia is proposing a ban on using, trading, mining of crypto. Look, when a totalitarian government bans Bitcoin, bans crypto, it more or less tells you everything you know, right? When a totalitarian government regulator warns of risks to financial stability via a currency that they can't control that effectively promotes freedom, it tells you all you need to know. I predict large totalitarian governments will try their best to ban Bitcoin. They will fail because the people will ultimately get what they want. Okay. Russia's been arguing for years against cryptocurrencies, saying they could be used for money laundering, to finance terrorism. It's nonsense. Banks are the biggest money launderers in the world. Okay, I don't want to spend more time on Russia. Let's move on. CoinDesk published a fantastic article on DeFi and its importance in the crypto economy. Let me see if I can show you this. It's kind of cool. Yeah, so they started out, the aim of decentralized finance is to create an entirely new financial system. Totally agree with that. As DeFi continues to evolve and strengthen, it's vitally important for advisors and others who are investing to understand the space. Can't argue with that, right? Cannot argue with that. So strongly encourage you to dig in here. Walks through the origins of Ethereum and the DeFi ecosystem, lending and borrowing in the DeFi ecosystem, compound, Aave and flash loans, decentralized exchanges, why DeFi is so important, with other links. The reason I'm highlighting this as well is that we're going to have a lot to say and maybe some really interesting announcements for you in the DeFi space in the coming weeks. And I would highly encourage you, if you're interested in yield generation, if you're using Abra Earn, if you're interested in directly understanding some of these protocols, now is a really good time to start digging in. Okay, so let me stop this. Yeah, so congrats to, shout out to Jackson Wood, did a good job. And also, if you haven't read Messari, I'll give a quick, go to Messari here. If you haven't looked at Messari's latest, let me bring them up here. And then if you haven't looked at Messari's latest report, it is fantastic. I love the Messari website. We're now a sponsor at Abra of Messari and love their content. At the very top of the screen, there's a link to a report called Thesis 2022. It is not light reading. It's 150 plus pages. Ryan Selkis, the primary author, who's the head of Messari, does a fantastic job of laying out his entire thesis for the year. And you can read the report online. You just provide your information. It's totally free. We're going to have Ryan on the show in a few weeks to talk about the report. He's agreed to come on. I'm really excited about that. He's gotten a lot of notoriety because of the report. I enjoyed reading it. I learned a lot. And I would encourage you to go to masari.io, check out the report, read the report. And so we're obviously going to talk about the Fed. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about selling the news and buying the rumor in a moment. And let's see. Before we get into our market analysis, let's talk about how Abra referral works. All right, so let's go to the charts. Let me bring up the trusty Bitcoin chart to start here. Look, so obviously it's not what we want to see. We're swimming in a sea of red right now. I believe that we're very close to a short-term bottom. It looks to me like the technicals are kind of winning right now. Fundamentals basically are losing, and the fundamentals first of all, the most important fundamental is price, and the price is what it is. Bitcoin is trading at 38,700, and that is the price. When I say fundamentals are not winning, I mean if you look at on-chain metrics, if you look at supply shock, which I talk about all the time, if you look at the log chart, if you look all the things that I talk about consistently in terms of Metcalfe's law, network effects, we compared the uptake of Bitcoin to Amazon last week. If you look at all of that, it should be painting a very different picture in terms of price, but it's not. So you can't deny that the price is what it is. But it's, as we say in trading, some point water seeks its level. At some point, the fundamentals should either win or start to correct in terms of where we are from a price perspective. And I do think that what's happening right now is we're in this kind of, let's call it, sell the rumor, buy the news situation. The Federal Reserve, the US central bank, has more or less said that they plan to raise interest rates multiple times this year. Now, interest rates are more or less zero, and raising rates 4 times at 25 basis points would have interest rates at about 1.25%. Historically, that is an incredibly low number. So my point is, even if you end up raising interest rates multiple times, you still end up in an environment where money is going to be very cheap, right? And inflation is still going to stay very, very high. I do think inflation is going to come down in the short term. The reason I think that is I think the economy is going to slow dramatically in the short term, simply because companies are going to be spending less. Stock prices are going to come down in the short term, and that's going to basically lead to less consumer spending, largely driven by the fear out of the fear of the Fed's comments. So simply by having the Fed talking about interest rates, right, we basically see a slowdown in the economy. I think that may lead the Fed to do a 180, meaning they may reverse course and come out and say, hey, we may not end up doing 4 interest rate increases after all, or we may slow down the pace of those increases. And that would cause stock markets and crypto to skyrocket. The other thing to keep in mind about, let me go to the daily and let me go to the weekly chart here first. The other thing to keep in mind about crypto prices long term, and here's my favorite weekly chart, and I'll revert to the log so you can see that we're still going sideways, right? Versus where we were in early 2021. Look, my favorite part about this whole kind of Fed narrative and interest rate narrative is that it really doesn't change anything, right? The network effects for Bitcoin, the network effects for, here's Ethereum, look at that, okay? Does that look like a bear market to you when you zoom out? Of course it doesn't, okay? But there's no denying the current price action. I bought more Ethereum this morning, one of the largest purchases I've done in a while, because I look at this and I go, okay, well, on a log scale, this is up and to the right. On a weekly scale, we've obviously had a significant pullback since late last year, basically going on December, January, 2 months now, 2.5 months now. And we haven't had that in a long time. And it's in the middle of a bull trend, which has not been broken. Okay, so I think if you have a time horizon of 4 to 10 years, my short-term time horizon is 4 years. My long-term time horizon, well, my long-term time horizon is forever, to be honest with you. To me, crypto is generational wealth. But if I'm really going to think about exiting out of positions for lifestyle or whatever reasons, retirement, whatever, it's really 10 years minimum, right? But I'm certainly not going to be exiting anything unless I'm forced to in less than 4 years, right? So I'm comfortable with the bets that I make because of that time horizon. If the gyrations that I'm showing you here in Ethereum, in Bitcoin are not comfortable for you, then it may be that either your time horizon is too short or you're too exposed relative to your real time horizon. And you need to think that through for yourself. Okay? So I'm going to keep the market analysis a little shorter today and get into some questions. I know I'll give you an update on CPerks and what I'm seeing there, and answer any questions that you have. We do have support people on the chat, and seeing some very nice comments on Facebook and Twitter about the Web3 commentary. We appreciate that. Yeah, so keep the questions coming. And yeah, so we want Abra to be the safest, easiest, and most reliable crypto app available. So here's a quick video on how easy it is to trade on Abra.
Trading on Abra is easy. Just click the exchange button. Tap the source you'd like to trade. Tap on what you'd like to trade it for. Type in the amount. Then click trade. Tap, type, trade. Totally easy on Abra.
All right, gang, let's close out with a few questions. Hopefully the sun is shining here in Miami. Well, actually I'm on the moon, as you can tell. But from what I can tell above, it looks like the sun is shining down on Miami. And hopefully it'll be shining down on the crypto markets as well. Jeffrey asks, can we use CPerks collateral to borrow USD in the future? Jeffrey, that's a great question. That is something that we're looking at. We will be launching staking of CPerks soon. That I can tell you. I don't mind giving that away. I can't tell you what the interest rate is going to be yet, but when you move your CPerks into Abra Earn, you will earn a healthy interest rate on those CPerks. And the next logical step would be to use CPerks as collateral for a loan. Don't have any exact timing on that yet, but it's early. We've just launched CPerks a few weeks ago. The initial launch promotion for distribution of our allotment of CPerks has ended. And we'll see what happens next. Let's see. What other questions do we have? The referral program has not been stopped. So 4 Strong Wins, you are still able to share your referral link via the Abra app. As you saw in the video from a couple of segments ago, you share that video, your friend deposits into, or your referee deposits into Abra. And then once the terms have and requirements have been fulfilled, you get your reward in CPerks. And I'm constantly going into my Abra app, clicking on the link and sharing it with friends. It's pretty much the only way that I get people into crypto now is sharing that link. Okay. SK Barhydt asks when CPerks is going to be listed on other exchanges. We don't control the listing on other exchanges. I know that the Crypto Banking Alliance has been having discussions with other exchanges. My understanding is they're going well, and they will be happening. So I don't have any more details than that, except to say, like I've said many times, we are all in on CPerks at Abra. It is going to be integrated into every feature pretty much that we create. We absolutely love CPerks. Okay. All right. So let's see what else we got here. Very cool questions. Messari, MESSARI.io. So hopefully that helps, Peter. I'll have them put it in the live chat for those of you on Twitter, and you should be able to click on the link directly from there. Let's see. Gary's asking about what's happening with Ripple XRP. So Ripple is still trading internationally for the most part. If you're a user outside the US, you do have access to XRP. Most exchanges, including the exchanges that we use for liquidity, have stopped and halted trading of XRP in the United States. I don't agree with this. I think that the SEC is going to lose or at least settle, and XRP will continue to trade in the US after they settle. I don't have any inside information. That's just my opinion. If they really wanted to stop XRP, they should have done it like 7-8 years ago. They shouldn't have waited until it was so widely held. And so, I don't have anything specific to announce, but my guess is that it'll be turned on once this lawsuit settles or goes away or gets dismissed or whatever ultimately happens. Praskovich asks, could I speak more about the meeting between Erdogan and Bukele? I believe this is referring to the rumor that Turkey is going to be announcing adoption of Bitcoin as an accepted legal tender and currency in the country. I suspect that all kind of non-first tier currency-based nations will be looking very hard at Bitcoin in the coming months, given their dependency on the dollar, on IMF, and given the incredible reception that El Salvador has received. Look, there's no denying that this has been a success. 4 million people are now using the wallet. I had a chance to catch up with some of the folks working on the wallet at the conference here in Miami this week. It was super interesting. Incredible what they've managed to achieve in such a short period of time. Look, the adoption isn't huge yet, but you've got a huge number of people adopting Bitcoin that had no access earlier. Some people are just taking the free money and spending it. That's fine. But a lot of people are now holding Bitcoin in El Salvador. And there's no denying that that idea originated with Bukele's project. And so kudos to them. Let's see, what else do we have? Nicanor thinks that CPRX as collateral for lending is a good idea. I agree. Let's see how that evolves over time. People are asking, where is the Crypto Banking Alliance website? I believe it's cryptoperks.com. So if you want to check that out, it's CRYPTOPERX.com. And we'll put that in the live chat as well. Really good group. Julian, the head of the Crypto Bank Alliance, is a great guy, and we're looking forward to more work with them in the near future. So kudos to them on the ongoing work. And you can also, by the way, read the white paper, look at the contract definitions, and a whole bunch of other details on the Crypto Perks white paper. So Catherine Yano watching from Turkey, right on. So getting a lot of new users from Turkey the last few weeks seems to be indicative of what's going on in the market. And welcome everyone from India, from Turkey. We've seen folks from Bangladesh, Philippines, Guatemala, of course, from my friends here in the United States. Welcome to all of you. Really enjoy such a wide variety of nationalities represented here. Debit credit card. So I got my weekly question, actually weekly dozen or so questions on whether there's going to be an Abra credit or debit card. All I can say is, folks, stay tuned. We're only in 20 days into the year. It's super early. We've got unbelievable product plans for you. I think Abra is the future of crypto banking. And when I look at our product roadmap, I am so excited by what's going on. We're looking at DeFi, NFTs, banking. I mean, it's just sit back, relax, and enjoy the Abra show, because it's going to be an awesome year. I'm super excited about it. Let's see. Yeah, if you are spamming or trying to scam the chat, we will block you and ban you. So I apologize to anybody if they're getting. Let's see. USDC support for wires is coming. So those of you asking about that, I saw a question. You will be able to wire money in and get USDC. Today you get True USD. That will revert to USDC soon. And we're going to be doing a lot more with USDC in the future. So I'm excited about that as well. And let me take two more questions. I wanted to keep it at 45 minutes today. So let me see. Let's see. I want to pick two good ones. Gary, you're welcome for the thoughts on XRP. Let's see. No, I already talked about the debit card. I'm not going to do that again. How long? Yeah. So how long does it take to withdraw money from Abra Earn? The terms of service are 1 to 7 days, but most withdrawals happen the same day within a few hours, if not sooner even. If you're withdrawing like millions of dollars, it might take a couple of days, but most withdrawals I see are literally the same day. So if you're worried about putting money in Abra Earn, it's the only place I keep my savings is 100% in Abra Earn. I love it. I'm all in on Abra Earn. My cash, my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, I keep it all in Abra Earn. I only move it to Abra Trade when I want to make a trade, and then I move it back into Abra Earn after that if it's one of the cryptocurrencies with Abra Earn. Glazai asks if we're going to be supporting local payment types in the Netherlands. We actually already do. So if you go to abra.com, there is a marketplace there where you can actually buy crypto and stable coins using different payment methods. And so it's right there on abra.com. And for the deposit address for the Paxos you buy, you simply create a deposit address from your Abra app, you paste it into the marketplace, and you can use your Ideal or SoForPay or SEPA bank account, SEPA compatible bank account in Europe, or any other supported payment type, and you can buy your stable coins, your USDP or USDC or whatever, Tether or whatever else you want to be able to buy. Okay. All right. So I said two, but I'm going to take one more and call it a day. Why am I in space? Where else would I be? So yeah, I'm at the Bitcoin headquarters for Abra on the moon, tethered down to Miami. And of course, I am not allowed back. I'm not welcome back until Bitcoin reaches 65,000 or new highs. So it looks like I'm being forced to broadcast from the moon until we get to new highs. And then maybe you'll see me broadcasting from the Bitcoin Abra headquarters in Miami. We'll see. Yeah, so obviously just kidding. Will we be able to send USDC to other Abra friends? Yes, that is the plan. So you can actually send True USD to other people today. And soon you'll be able to, so if you go into the Abra app and click on the main menu, there's a function that says send, and you can send True USD to anyone today. So if you're holding USDC and you want to send it, just convert it to True USD and send it. Soon you'll be able to send USDC directly using that send menu function as well. Okay, so Zoroaster, I hope that helps. And I said I would just take a couple more questions. Yeah, so I'm going to stop there. And somebody has a joke that they have some rare 69K priced Bitcoin. I have some of that too, but hopefully it won't be so rare in the near future. All right, so we'll stop there. Thanks everyone. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week on Money Talks. Peace.